Right, here's what I'll do. I'll ask it in a very careful way and you decide what you answer, right? The problem is Sean, rather, which is when you and DDK were casting together, I actually low-key think Riot missed a trick completely, mate. Like, I think you actually, for real, could have been considered one of, like, the all-time great. I'm not talking about just fucking Valorant. I think you could have been one of the best duos ever in esports commentary, because I actually think you had the most unique setup of any commentary duo I've ever seen, bro, which is normally commentating is all about having the sick play-by-play, and that's what they're famous for. It's like the iconic, Anders, fucking Sadikis, you think of like those voices immediately, you just think of the calls. But normally, most casting duos is more like, right, where does the colour come in this? Do I have a colour? Like, people don't know, Anders and Semler, essentially, is no colour. They're sort of like mixing a little bit of colour in with two awesome hype casters. So yours was like the opposite. It was like two people who come from being, like, in theory, potentially quite dry colour guys, to like, you both then worked on your skill set, and obviously DDK had done a million games anyway, so he could do play-by-play if he needs to. And I actually thought by the end it was amazing, because it was like having, essentially, this is like actually the dream of what me and Lopez used to talk about way back in the day on bloody Skype when we would watch like old 1.6 tons. We always used to say the problem with the play-by-players, all the noobs love it, but if you're actually like hardcore in the game, you don't even listen to the play-by-play. If anything, he's almost distracting you. It's why people are mean and say they mute it. But the dream always for me was have two experts, have two people who know the game super deep, and then if you know how to give each other space, you could get so much more info into a cast. Because you know this from being on the analyst desk. The analyst desk is like 1 good minute. Like you don't really have a lot of stuff. It doesn't matter how good the game was. You write all these bloody notes, then you just chuck them in the bin and say like 2 points, don't you? And that's if the other guy doesn't say something you riff off. In a game, a cast, you have like 3 hours. You can get all the info. So I actually thought like what the potential for this duo was incredible. But as you say, for whatever reasons with the industry shenanigans, it didn't happen, and you were sort of getting broken up. And now neither of you sort of do that. Like you do the odd event. Like, doesn't that feel like a missed opportunity? Like am I over romanticizing? Did you not see the same potential?
I don't know if I have like that. It's weird. Like, I wouldn't have said like we would have been the greatest casting duo ever. Like, I just hold so much respect for like the CS casting duos, and even like, like Pansy and like Hypoc. Like, I think, and like Sideshow and Bren, like from Overwatch, like those guys are insane. Like, they're all insane. Like, I think I would never be able to surpass like, say, a Machine as a broadcast talent. I think he's fucking insane. He's so insane. Like, his verbal fluidity is just unreal, and like his camera presence is insane. But I will say, like, I was willing to learn, and I would study like Machine and Sponge cast. Like, I remember like oh, I love that, the way they delivered that, and like how they bounced off of one another, and how they kept the combo going, and like then how they like drew hype. And Dan and I even did like casting training for like up and coming game changers casters, where I was able to like study casting. So like that's
right. As in the actual techniques and stuff, not just like what you say, right? Because
if you're going to teach someone, you better know what the fuck you're talking about. Like, you can't just be winging it out there. And that was like very pivotal to like my understanding of casting. So I definitely did like put in the effort. And I definitely didn't half-ass it. But I think like it's just so different the way that esports has trajected that I totally understand. Like, I'm not upset about it. I just think like the way that esports is treated across the different developers, how do I say this, is they hold different values, right? Like, a CSGO cast or a CSGO tournament is run a lot different than a Riot tournament, where Riot is the developer of the fucking game, and they're also the tournament organizer. And all the developer of the game should care about is getting eyeballs on the game and having people want to watch the game. Whereas like CSGO, the actual developer doesn't run the tournament. The tournament organizer runs the tournament. So they have to make profit on this tournament. And it's not about the eyeballs on the tournament.
Yes.
It's about, can we make profit on the tournament? And I just think like how it's thought of in Valorant, like, and the effort that Riot puts in is it's so different. Like, I don't know. I understand now, like in hindsight, but at the time I was obviously like very upset about it. Like, it's a hard question to like answer. Like, if you want to ask, like, reframe it, I could probably approach it differently.
What do you think on the part I said about the fact that, like, as I say, I think you had a very unique duo, though, like the background you were coming from and the skill set, like, essentially, like, I'll tell you right now, I'm pretty sure she said this publicly. Believe it or not, dude, even though I'm with you, I think Pansy's for the fucking shit. She's actually someone who sometimes lacks confidence. She thinks she's just got a great voice and, you know, maybe she's waffling sometimes and she's waiting for the colour guy, you know, to say what really matters. Whereas I would always tell someone like that, we talk about, you're fucking killing it. But in your case, like I say, I feel like you could have been one of the few duos where essentially both people could just be dropping gems the whole time if you had it going right way. Because even though you've been very humble there, like, to be fair, Sean, the people you're comparing yourself to, like, the CS casters have done like bloody 70 lands together, mate. You've done like, what, one land together? Like, it's not like you didn't really have the chops under your belt. Like, I'm talking if you'd have had the run, if you'd have had like a 5-year run, I think you could have been one of the best ever, mate.
Maybe. Yeah. I mean, full transparency, I got like very frustrated, I think, in that like year of casting, because we would get the big games in this COVID era, but the big games in NA were fucking like, the grand finals of these tournaments where like both teams had already qualified. And
so it wasn't that competitive, right? I see, right.
And it was like we were casting these fucking people just trolling, and that drove me insane. It was like, the semifinals that we weren't casting were better than the actual finals.
Right.
And then when we went to LAN and casted, and it was like my first time casting a Valorant LAN, I'll never forget this. I felt like the match ended. It was like Sentinels versus like Furia or some shit, like one of the Brazilian teams. And it was an awesome game, and I loved it. I was like, this is so sick. And we go into like the third map, and it's on Haven, and there's a fucking like tech pause because someone did like a glitch. And the whole narrative about the match then just becomes about like this fucking thing.
Oh, right.
Like,
As an asterisk got it right.
Yeah, it just felt like every big match that I casted in Valorant, like, was fucked in some kind of way.
So you got blue balls, then you cast it. You never got the proper release.
Yeah. Like LCQ, we were supposed to cast LCQ, like America's LCQ. The whole event got canceled.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
We casted like one game, and then we're like, all right, go home. Like, everyone go home. That's what my entire year felt like, and it was so deflating that like I just couldn't cast a big game. And even like this last Champions, you know, like Ball had COVID, so I stood in for him and casted with Doug. You know, like, there just so happened to be a fucking hurricane, so there was no crowd. So like the one day I get to cast, like, the two fan favorites in this insane matchup with Doug, who's like a great play-by-play, like, it just feels so weird because there's no crowd that day, but there's crowds every other day. Like, God damn it, I'm just so unlucky. I just feel unlucky with the whole casting thing. I don't feel like I deserve any kind of like opportunities or anything like that. I don't feel like I'm the best caster, but I do feel like I never really got a chance, I guess, to like showcase anything.
See more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or, you know, be a pleb and don't.